One of the most common questions that we get from parents, and I mean like the most common is it okay that my child starts taking piano lessons on a keyboard? And the answer is yes. You can use a digital keyboard to start your child off for lessons, but, and it's a big but, there's a lot more that you should know before you just go out there and just purchase any keyboard that you think looks nice. Just keep in mind, a keyboard is an electronic, and like all electronics, there's going to be some poor quality ones and some high quality. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the pros and cons to owning a keyboard versus a real piano. We'll talk about what things to consider and what to look for when you're out looking to buy a keyboard. So let's dive in. Piano versus keyboard, the pros and cons of both. So let's start with the gold standard, which is a real acoustic piano. This is where you experience the full sound of all these pitches. You can almost feel the vibrations because that's where the sound is coming from, the vibrations from the piano strings. The keys are weighted, they're full of dynamic and very sensitive to touch, so you have a lot more control over the sound that you want to make. It's going to be a fantastic, rich tone. If your goal is to become a pianist or to build on top of a piano education, then it's probably worth your time to go ahead and invest into an acoustic piano, because ultimately you're going to want to be able to comfortably play on any kind of piano during live performances. Now, the cons of owning an acoustic piano is that there is annual maintenance, and you're going to have to keep it tuned, and that can be costly. Depending on where you live, it can cost anywhere from $80 to even $300 every year to make sure that the piano is tuned and maintained properly. It's also sensitive to drastic temperature changes. So if your house isn't sealed off very well, if it can go from cold to hot very quickly, then that's going to affect your piano. Humidity is a piano's worst enemy. That will cause the wood to expand and contract and can really even cause cracks and be a big problem long term for the piano's health. Also, maintenance will matter on where you place the piano. So for example, I had a family that had a piano right at the entrance of their home. So at the front door, people would be coming in and out, and they noticed that during the winter months, their piano seemed to go out of tune a lot faster than throughout the other seasons of the year. And it's probably because of the door opening so frequently, allowing cold air to come in and then warming up that space again. So just keep in mind where you place the piano is going to be important in terms of maintenance and long-term health. And I would say the biggest con, and it really is a huge con to owning a piano, is it's so hard to move, and the moving fees can be so expensive. And if you don't have a professional mover that you could possibly break or crack the piano, and that would be another expense. So that's something to really consider. So now the pros and cons of a keyboard. I would say the number one pro is the opposite of a piano. It's way more portable. Like, you don't have to worry about having a big space in your house, because a keyboard is a lot smaller. You can also kind of control how long the keyboard is going to be. There's different sizes of keys, so you don't have to have the full-length piano if you really don't need it. And I would say another huge benefit to owning a keyboard, one that I personally like, and I know a lot of adults or teenagers really enjoy, is being able to control the volume. So if you don't want somebody to listen to a piece you're working on, or maybe you just want to play away without having to worry about anybody listening in, you can just put in some headphones and that's it. The music is just for you. And being an electronic, another pro is you can connect it to a laptop if it is a MIDI keyboard. Of course, there are different keyboards out there, so you really want to make sure like what all the features are, because there are different features for different electronics. But some keyboards allow you to like transform your sound into an orchestra or a harp or a guitar even. So that can be kind of entertaining. So the con of a keyboard is if it breaks, if a couple of keys stop working, then usually you can't really fix it. You can't call a tuner to come by and restore it back to 100%. Usually you have to call a company, and that can be quite expensive. And so most people end up just getting rid of their keyboards, trashing them, or giving them away, and it's not really used anymore. So that is actually a huge con to keyboards. Once they stop working, most people just don't see it worth it to fix them. And one thing you can do to prevent your keyboard from breaking down is, I know we've all done this where we're like, oh, just one time, it's going to be fine. I'll make sure it doesn't spill. But do not place any kind of liquid or cups of water. Don't risk it. Don't let your cat sit on it, because who knows, maybe they'll pee on it. But keyboards are extremely sensitive to any kind of liquid, and if it gets wet, it will probably break, or it will cause some kind of electronic issues. This is speaking from experience, obviously, especially with the cat peeing on the piano. Let's stay safe and let's keep all liquids away from the keyboard. And I'll mention one more con, but it's not really a con. Just don't get distracted with some of the prices of keyboards. Usually, if it's cheap, it's going to be a poor quality keyboard. With keyboards, the saying of you're going to get what you pay for pretty much rings true, and you want to make sure that you do invest into a high quality keyboard, because those are the ones that are going to make your life so much easier in the long run. You don't want to deal with buttons not working, keys not working, the wires suddenly stop working and you can't charge your keyboard. Like, all those things can be avoided as long as you invest into a high quality instrument. So now on to our next question. What keyboards do you recommend? So we do have a website on our page. It's called Shop, and we'll link it down below so that way you can take a look at it. And these are all the keyboards that we recommend. They're piano and more approved, and they're also labeled to different skill levels. So if you're a beginner, then this is a good beginner keyboard. Or if you want to look long term, then you can go ahead and book a more advanced, more piano-like keyboard, you could say. So feel free to check that out. But generally, keyboard brands like Roland, Yamaha, even Casio, those guys, they do a really good job with producing high quality keyboards. And they're also known for their likeness to real acoustic pianos. And they usually last a long time. They're very durable. So with those brands, you're usually pretty safe. And we highly recommend that you purchase a keyboard that is as close to the length of a real piano. So a full-length piano is 88 keys. So we say go for the 88 keys, or if you really just, for whatever reason, you can't have 88 keys, maybe it's too expensive, or maybe you just don't have the room for it, then second best is 61 keys. So you can go for that. So when you're searching for keyboards, the first thing to look for is 88 keys. The second thing you want to look for is semi-weighted or preferably fully weighted keys. And that is just representing the equivalent of a hammer action piano, where there's some weight to the keys. Because the last thing we want is for a student to go up on stage and play on a piano and they're not prepared to press on heavier keys. That will completely throw them off and could even ruin the experience for them. So we want to make sure that the keyboard's keys have the likeness of a real piano and holds the weight just like a piano key would. The third thing you want to look for is the dynamic action. And what that means is when you press softly, a soft sound comes out, and when you press more firmly, there's going to be a louder sound. And that is also very equivalent to a piano. You want to express your emotions. You want to build tension or make things light when you need to in certain parts of the song. And so that's a very important feature that you want to make sure your keyboard has. And you're not just purchasing a keyboard, you're also going to have to purchase the cables, a piano bench to make sure you have proper posture and that you're not hurting your back after sitting at a piano for a bit. And also you want to make sure you have a piano stand and that it's at the right level. You don't want to have a keyboard that's sitting too high, because again, that's going to hurt your posture, or too low. And the last thing you'll need is the pedal. You may not need it as an early beginner, but I would say within the first year, you'll start using a pedal. And with a normal acoustic piano, there are 3 pedals, but honestly, you just need one to get started. It's the sustain pedal, and that will get you through for a long time. So that's everything. I hope this video gave you the answers you were looking for. And if you are not yet a student and you're curious, you're interested in learning more, then feel free to reach out. You can start the process by submitting a contact form, which we're going to link down below in the description. So fill that out, and then we'll connect you with our lesson coordinator, and they will connect you with teachers in the area. As of today, and it is 2025, our trial lessons are still 50% off. You can give it a go, and you can even have the teacher come and inspect your piano or keyboard and let you know how that will work for future lessons. So give us a call, fill out the form. All right, we'll see you in the next video, and don't forget to keep the music going.